Welcome to Wakey, Wakey Echoes of the Esoteric. S here alongside co-host Jenica Haywood. And today we are diving right in. We're going to have a fun little chat about mechanicalness today. Have a discussion about what this word mechanicalness. What does it mean? How does it pertain to the work? How do we end up being mechanical? This is a concept that was pretty foreign to me when this work came and tapped me on the shoulder. And the idea of being robotic. I feel like even just the way that rolls off my tongue now with a little more ease feels much different than the way it sounded the first time I heard it. It didn't sound familiar. What do you mean I'm a robot? What do you mean I'm behaving mechanically? What does this mean? Do you remember those days? The days before
Yeah,
discovering just how mechanical you are? Where it's
yeah.
like, wait a minute, what do you mean mechanical? How am I? No, what do you mean? No, I make all my own decisions.
Oh yeah. Well, and like, oh well, sometimes I, drive and I get myself home and I don't remember the drive, but that's normal. That's normal.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's super normal. It is though, let's be clear. It is normal. It is very ordinary. It is a very ordinary thing to have happen. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Mm-mm.
To be
Very
clear,
normal.
it's very normal. And I feel like this is a great place to delineate, to make a delineation between what is ordinary and what is the path to higher consciousness, because they do not trod the same ground, not even slightly.
Ooh. Oh, I just had like so many thoughts like jump into my mind just as you said that. Just especially like revisiting our past conversations when it comes to, spirituality, just entering into that, being in the exoteric and really coming to this, believing that there's real intention behind what you're doing, there's a real consciousness behind what you're doing, there's a real goal to whether it's to attain enlightenment or like to bring your gifts online, all of these different things. Like there's a very distinct segue from that world and experience and ordinariness, mechanicalness,
Yeah.
um, into laying eyes on for the first time what it is that you're truly doing, how you are navigating or moving through life, what watching yourself for the first time. Um, yeah, big segue, big I was gonna say big ask, but like who's asking? You know, I definitely a huge segue or
It's like putting on
departure.
it. I'll say that again. What'd you say?
As a or departure rather from what
Departure.
from what
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
It feels like putting on a completely different pair of glasses with a whole new lens that allows you to see things about yourself that you could never have seen with the other pair. Seems like a very simple way to put it.
No, I love it because honestly, my knee-jerk reaction when that happened, when I put on these different glasses was almost to like close my eyes again and be like, ah, this is too much. This is shocking. This is weird. I don't believing that you have real like full control and full awareness of who you are and what you're doing and why, and having that stripped away is that's not an easy segue. That's not an easy departure. That's not something that is from the mass from the majority, it's not something that's accepted. Um it's like I said, for me it was kind of this reaction to close my eyes to it and just be like, that can't be possible. Like I'm a living human breathing person, not a mechanical robot. That
Yeah.
doesn't, and again, like even saying the word robot for me, like it's still a little weird because I'm flesh and blood. That doesn't make sense. I'm not a machine, but it becomes pretty evident that I behave like a machine, Like
Yeah.
it became very evident. I guess maybe I'll put that in the past,
Just a bit.
just a bit. Just a bit. There's always
Part of
there's
it.
always more to see.
Part of it. At least a couple of extremities from that robot can go into the past or something, right?
Yeah, yeah. I love looking at it. I mean, when I say robot, that one's so hard because we already have so much of this imaginative picture, Hollywood definition and understanding of robot.
Oh
And
yeah.
I found myself like dropping more into like there's different processes or factories, if you will, that are functioning in their own way, in an autonomic way, like any sort of factory creating any sort of product. Like things are running, you've got humans checking on stuff, sure, but like when I started recognizing these automatic processes that just would occur, that I couldn't put a stop to, or I couldn't change or redirect, that they were just happening, to me it started seeming like there were everything from, the main factories down to each individual mechanism that was allowing that factory as a whole to produce whatever it was producing, the action, the aspect of personality, this belief or understanding of how I'm perceiving the world or myself or whatever. Um, this obviously gets very,
Yeah.
very deep, but
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting to play around with these words and just to see like how they respond in your body and why it really truly is so shocking to recognize that we're not in full authority or control of our human of us. There's
Yeah.
the vast majority, if not all of it, is just automatic processes taking place
Hmm.
in a way we
Yeah,
think we understand.
I challenge anyone who's listening to this who believes that they are in full authority of their processes to, I don't know, what's fair? 48 hours? To spend 48 hours attempting to not lie. Just try that, which includes a lot of different things. So let's break that down.
Yeah.
Okay. This goes beyond white lies. This goes beyond uh, saying things that aren't true in or through the lens of mechanicalness. A lie is greatly expanded from what our current understanding of a lie would be. It is anytime you embellish something, anytime you twist your words to give yourself favor, anytime you tell yourself in your mind you're going to do something, but then you come up with a reason. I don't know what, 5 minutes later, 20 minutes later, it could be a day later. It doesn't matter. You
Hmm.
you have conviction over something that later you justify not doing because you have a new reason now why that is not the thing you need to do, right? We as humans do this all the time. So I would venture to say that in a 48-hour period, any given person who would apply this exercise to themselves is going to see just how disconnected the mind and the heart are. The mind and body are. The heart and the body are. Like, there are so many different ways that our mechanicalness comes in and unravels what we believe was our intention, what we believe was our decision. And oftentimes it's mechanicalness that had us making that decision to begin with. So it's coming from both sides. It's coming from all the way around. It is a 360-degree view of your robot to
This
take
is
on this
why,
exercise. Yeah.
yes, well, and this is why it's so important to take a step back from your already rooted in definition of lying, because there's
Mm-hmm.
still that thought of like, I I am lying or will not lie, but the person that you're saying isn't going to lie is also part of this. Like it's who from here is saying that, and how quickly does it switch into a different understanding or a different side. So like taking a second to redefine what lying is, and then recognizing that even in showing up differently based on the crowd that you're around or who you're with or not with, work setting versus home setting, that in and of itself is also a form of lying to yourself. But to try and track who is lying to who within all these ways that you're showing up or presenting or telling stories, or that's another aspect. If you're going to tell someone else's story,
That's the lie.
that's a lie. So I would even venture to be like, give yourself the first however many hours just to look at how you define lying and how many levels and layers to it there really are. And then recognize it's 360. It's not, well, I'm not going to lie. I don't ever lie. That's what I thought too. Like I really have never been someone who tells lies. I don't understand it.
Look at
I
you
don't
lying to
understand the
yourself. Look
point. Right?
at
Yeah,
you. You're
like I
telling lies
just
already.
mhm. And then seeing that how many different times I say something that I intend to do, or how many commitments that are made that I end up failing from for good reasons.
Oh yeah.
For very good
Justifiable.
reasons. Yes.
Justifiable
Oh
reasons.
yeah.
Logical reasons.
Logical.
Sorry. I just had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Let's let's be
Logical reasons.
let's be clear too that lying is not the only aspect of mechanicalness. It's just one of the easiest to really like roll out the red carpet for your awareness around.
Mhm. So in the comments there's a question that's just clarifying this, because it's not necessarily, it is saying that you're going to do something and then doing your best to actually do it, but so much of it is recognizing how quickly that leaves. How quickly, and in fact, if you can literally say that you're going to do something and you continuously do it, see how long you can go about that before you derail. It can,
Yeah.
like you said, it could be 5 minutes. It could be, I'm going to get up early and exercise the next morning, and you don't. There's your derail. Some people are so good at commanding and deciding what they're going to do and pushing everything out. You might go a little bit longer than that. In fact, please comment how long you can make it. But so much
Yeah.
of it is really recognizing and observing it, not just trying to prevent yourself. But I mean, what would you add to that, S?
Hmm. This this question is coming in at the same time as I'm having this other uh movement come forward in my thoughts around mechanicalness, right? And the idea of observing how it is that we're being, because that's really what it's all about. That's what the work is all about, self-observation and really laying eyes on how you are as you are before you even literally start making any kind of an aim or intention to go beyond self-observation, right? Or learn more about the inner world, which is required, and how we eventually come into deeper alignment through the observation and understanding. We begin to choose differently. We have lots of exercises that come into play in this process, but what was forefront in my mind was this idea of really kind of how this conversation started in the beginning, the idea of mechanicalness, and that we make a decision and then we make another decision and we make another decision. We're contradicting ourselves, right? And that all of it is mechanical. So how do you know? Words get so weird here, and I can imagine somebody that's listening would probably be like, where's she going with this? How do you know when you say tomorrow I'm going to And then you contradict that and say, no, tomorrow I'm going to, and it's something different, right? Who is I? Where was I in that statement? Was the real me in one of those statements? It's all mechanical. So how do I identify who I am and what decisions I'm making if I'm to be aware of how mechanical I am? How do I find myself? How do I dig through all this rubble of my mechanical nature, my mechanical habits, the programming? Let's make it simple to understand. The programming that we've taken on from the world that has us acting certain ways, thinking certain things, believing certain things about ourselves and about everyone else is what we're dismantling. That is the mechanical film that overlays everything that you're thinking you're doing that you're not really doing, because it's actually mechanical. It's a mechanical behavior that's been imprinted on you from the world. And everything that you think you're deciding that you're not really deciding, because it's all been preformed concepts according to the life you've lived, the education you've had, who you were raised by, how you've engaged with the world, and however many years you've been alive. Like all of these aspects of what you think you do, what you think you decide, what you think you're choosing, really all amount to mechanical behaviors that have compiled in a sense to represent you. But who is you? Where are you in all of that? So in the beginning, it can be really confusing. And that's what I was kind of feeling in the question of like, well, what are we supposed to do with all of this? Are we just supposed to notice it? And the answer is yes. Like, yes, notice it. Yes, observe it. Yes, sit with it. Come to a realization of all of the many things that you are accustomed to doing a certain way because that's how you've been trained. You've literally been trained to be a certain way through your life's experience, through your engagement with this person or that person in this context or that context. I don't know if I answered the question really fully, but that was really alive in my awareness. Just that idea of like, wait a minute, if I'm mechanical and if everything I'm doing is mechanical and I'm not really doing anything or deciding anything because I'm so imprinted by the world to make certain decisions that really aren't mine anyway, it would be really easy to start to lose yourself in that. But the point isn't to lose yourself. The point is to find yourself. And you, first of all, have to see how mechanical you are and come to an awareness of the impressions that you've taken on, come to an awareness of just how habitual some of your mechanisms, like that's all we are, is mechanisms, right? We are a mass of mechanisms. And to become aware of those habitual mechanisms is to see the falseness in yourself. And through self-observation, you become aware of all of that. You develop what's called an observing eye as you watch yourself and observe yourself and start to notice all of these things that you do. And the way maybe you have a phrase that you say every single day when you've lost words or you're nervous, right? And you're like, oh, I've been saying that a lot. Oh, now I see I'm saying it all the time. Oh, I say it every time I'm nervous, right? Just one little isolated example here, but you start to see these mechanisms everywhere in everything that you do, right? So if you are observing the mechanisms, if you are observing what is false in you, and you've come to see just how mechanical you are, you know that's not real. That is an impression that's come into your being or has become a part of you as impressed upon by the world. And you are now aware of it. You are now observing this aspect of you, even if it's in everything that you do, and you're resigned to the fact that, oh my God, I'm completely mechanical, which is where we start with this work. Rest into the knowing that everything that you do in the beginning, you're going to see as mechanical. And when you have that realization and awareness and you can observe it, let's rewind the tape and reiterate how important it is to do this impartially and without judgment. But when you come to that place, you are not looking at yourself from falseness. You can't. What is true in you can see what's false, not the other way around. So by mere virtue of the fact that you have put yourself through a process, and we've said this before, but it is just the most magnificent aspect of this work, in that the process is objective. It's the same steps and it works the same way for everyone. You're going to have your own subjective experience with it, but the steps don't change. It's an objective process. When you see it through that process, when you see this aspect of yourself, it is only from essence that you can see it. It is only from what's true in you that you can see what's false. This falseness, this film that you've taken on from the world, this crust that forms around everything that's true in you, it can't see the truth. It's the crust that's enclosing it. It can't go inside and see what's true. It's got no frame of reference for that, no eyes to see it. Eyes to see, ears to hear kind of thing, right? We can go the Jesus route all day long. we'll go there in some future podcasts. But it's just so beautiful to have that realization that when you really are ready to see just how much you have taken on from the world, just how much the world really has imprinted on you, and you are willing to admit it to yourself and have that journey, take that walk with yourself, it's only with your essence that you will end up. It's only from essence that you can see all of that mess to begin with.
That's so
If you
beautiful.
think you know your essence, truly, if you think you know your essence, if you can say, well, I know exactly what my essence is, it's this and this and this and this. How did you get to that place? Because your personality can't see it. It's impossible. We can go into cosmic law. We can talk about the laws that govern this reality. We can talk about, we're not going to get into the ray of creation today, but laws as they are, laws as such. It's the way it works. There's no laying eyes on the truth from the perspective of a lie. It's backwards. It's totally backwards.
Yeah, well, and that, I mean, thank you for that. That was honestly an amazing journey that you just took us on to, from this beginning first point of even accepting, let alone recognizing the mechanical nature of being human, all the way up to what it is to actually taste and feel and become essence, your own essence, and how it's understood backwards from what the journey really is.
Oh yeah.
And it makes me honestly want to take it all the way back, circle right back to the beginning, and really lay the foundation for the psychological understanding of our listeners as to how this has even come to be. How is it that we are mechanical, robotic humans? That's such a hard concept to even come into, because we are alive and breathing, and it's not well known. In fact, it's a buried ancient wisdom. Um, the true nature of being a human, what being a human is, what a human being is. We have our understandings based upon what has been told to us, which has been forming our false personality, our false understanding, all of these ungrounded beliefs of what all of this is and what we are and what a human is, right? I mean, I know anatomy back and forth, but like,
Yeah.
that doesn't explain the nature of a human being and why it is that nobody knows this or understands it, and why it's refuted and outright stomped on and denied. What is this? What is this understanding? Can you help just like lay this psychological foundation for someone who might want to step into observing to really feel and see for themselves the mechanical nature of their humanness?
Hmm. So my processing mind just went a couple of different directions. Extract from me here, if you will. Because the first thing I started thinking of was the idea of us as human beings being the only beings on the planet that are tasked with self evolution. We are not complete. We are not in our highest consciousness, not even close. And we come here to Earth to have the experience as human beings in order to self evolve. Is that where you want to go?
Yes. Yes. Because I
Yeah.
think that that's where we normally put a period. We're
Hmm.
here as spiritual, aspects. We've come
Hmm.
down to become human, to have the human experience. Period. End of story. Done and done. That is where that understanding ends.
Oh, yeah. And there's so much after that. It's not a dot, it's like a dot, 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 and then a full
So this is,
dissertation. It's
yeah.
a full dissertation here. Um,
Well, it's part and parcel to what the nature of a human actually is, because with a
yeah.
period there, the human experience is just what you're born into and your happenstance and circumstance and the impressions and who you grow up to be, and it's all really and truly it's all accidental and based
And
on
see
cause
that
and effect.
that to me is ordinary human.
But
That
that's
is
where the
that is
period comes
and
in.
I knew that's what you were building there. But that's ordinary. That's why we put the period right there. And I see what you're
Yep.
saying and I see where you're going. And this is why I'm like, okay, extract from me. Um,
So
that
then,
idea is where we can have a full body human experience. This is not going to be the experience of human in highest consciousness, however. This is going to be a completely different experience. It is going to be a very ordinary, and I lean back away, especially in conversations like this where I know we have people listening who are not in deep into this work and the language of this work, from using words like higher and lower, right?
yeah.
Because everybody's like, what do you mean lower? I'm ordinary and lower. Yes, and we all are. This is
Well,
how we come here. This is where we all have the same experience to a certain extent. We're all familiar with this aspect of life as human.
and I can drop in a little analogy to kind of help with that
Yeah.
higher lower hierarchical, because if you look at it, the ordinary human experience is largely, I could parallel it to like a toddler stage. There's
Mhm.
accident, there's cause and effect, there's a level of psychological understanding that you 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 understand the world around you, but it's still very
Sensual.
self-centric. Yes, and sensual, very sensual, tactile, sensual. What you navigate based on what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what is approved of,
Mhm.
what's not approved of, who you should be, what the rules and laws and understanding of life is from that vantage point. So like just
Mhm.
take that toddler stage as what the ordinary human experience is, because
Yeah.
as we're getting into, we have potential, we have the ability to self-evolve, to go
Yeah.
from toddler to teenager to full-blown adult who does and can make decisions and direct and create a life. Very hard analogy with just entering into this kind of understanding. So, just take that and sit with that for what it is. But then I'll hand it back to you as like,
Great. Great. After you said making decisions and forming a life, right? Because most people are of the belief that that's already happening, that they're already doing that. And this is really why we're talking about mechanicalness today, and this aspect of being so imprinted on by the world that we really aren't in control or authority of our being. We are not in our highest consciousness making decisions with our own will, aim, and intention. We are very much affected by the outside world. And so when we talk about mechanicalness, I really want the listeners to think of it in the way of affect. Like your external world is pushing you one direction or the next. Simple analogy here, right? You sit down to have breakfast at the table and have a cup of tea, uh, you know, a lovely morning. It's a morning off. It's bright and sunny out. It's the first morning you've had by yourself in a while and you've been looking forward to it and you're in a beautiful flow. You got up early, you took a shower, you made yourself your favorite tea and a fruit bowl, whatever it is, whatever floats your boat, right? You sit down at this table and your cell phone rings. It's across the room. You're going to get up to go answer it. You've just allowed it to interrupt your morning. But not only did it interrupt your morning, but now you're on the phone receiving bad news. Okay. You hang the phone up, you come back to the table. Are you going to just eat your breakfast? Or has your state of mind changed? Has the whole now, domino effect of your day from this point forward changed? Have you been affected by your external circumstances? How often are you affected by your external circumstances? And it's this degree of change that the external affects us with or lays over us, however you want to say it. There's a lot of flowery words we can use here. I don't know how important that is, but for people to understand truly that we are pushed in one direction or the other, our thought processes are made to move in one direction or the other because we are lacking truly that authority over our being. Can you receive a phone call with horrible news and have it not affect your being? What's the percent chance of that happening?
Without shutting down,
Without shutting down,
without
without
pretending like
suppressing,
it's fine.
right? Because again, with the mechanicalness, it's like I've had this conversation with a few people who want to pick my brain, want to have a conversation with me about what this work is and believe that well, whether it's a message in my inbox or a voice message or a phone call, whatever it is, I saw this post you were doing and I really just want to talk to you about this work. And so this is what I'm doing. Am I doing it? And it's like, no, no. Everyone thinks it's something that it's not. And at the end of the day, this isn't about suppressing emotions. This isn't about pushing away the things that feel bad that could interrupt your serenity bubble that you've created for yourself, because that's not at all what this is. This is a practice that leads you to higher consciousness through a process that again is the same for everyone. And that aspect of higher consciousness holds a reconciliation of your being that makes you unfuckwithable. The external world cannot fuck with you. I see the raised hands in the chat. It's like, yes, unshakable. The unshakability of your inner world is dependent on your level of consciousness. Are you able to see things as they are objectively and not be all jacked up about it? Seeing things through a dualistic frame that says, oh, that's bad or that's so good. Like, are you so identified with whether something is good or bad that you're labeling everything in your world and pushing away the bad and drawing in the good? And now you don't even know how to be with yourself when you're sad? What made you sad? Let me say it again, made you sad Because if the external world can come in and make you anything, you weren't what you thought you were to begin with. I had this conversation recently with someone who said, well, I just want to make them happy. I just want to make them happy. They were talking about their significant other. I just want to make them happy. My answer is you can't do that. That will fail every single time. Well, I'd want someone to make me happy. Would you? Or is that your job? If we're looking for things from the outside world to make us feel anything, we're already in our robotic tendencies to the degree that we cannot even be aware.
Well, and I'm just going to draw this right back to that analogy too that I'm playing off of this go around is just like if everyone knows what it is to watch a toddler tantrum, freak out over something that you as an adult is watching and going, okay, not affecting you, but here's this child like it's just upset because whatever reason their shoe's untied and they don't want to tie it again or you know they
Whatever it
can't
is.
have whatever it is, can't have the toy they want. They wanted pancakes this morning, not eggs. I love actually reading through different memes of reasons why toddlers are freaking out or extremely happy. Even that, the smallest things. If you can sit back and look at how an adult can see the full picture and see something as it is, while the toddler is going back and forth from happy, sad, good, bad, freak out to extremely loving. For me, and I'm hoping that this is translating because it just keeps coming back into my mind. So so for those of you that are listening, like that's this is that scale difference. The way that you handle and can see the situation around what the toddler is freaking out about is the same thing that we do as adults, but there's not we don't have this higher adult present watching us freak out. We call it God. And then try and understand what God's doing or what it thinks and why the situation is what it is. But if you can pull this scale into focus and recognize that there is an adult version of us as the adults we think we are. Again, bear with me with words. There is a grander view that as we're navigating life and as the bad news from the phone call comes in and just floors you, changes your entire day, maybe it changes your month, an aunt died or someone got in a car wreck or whatever it is, that can create a domino effect that lasts as long as you choose it to in all reality is but like that's the same thing as something changing in a toddler's world. They were going along one way and then something changed and it caused a domino effect of response. But from our perspective, we can see that as a whole. There is a higher perspective that awaits us that is already online. We just don't have the psychological or the beingness to access it, that can see this whole view and doesn't respond the same way that the toddler responds or the same way that we respond. I hope this is
It
coming
does.
across clear in the sense of like it really helps to and then even further than that, teenagers they start getting things, they do, and then they start thinking that they get everything, and then you start really butting heads and you know more than the teenager does, but you can't tell them that you know more because that only fuels the fire. How many of us are still in that state as you're listening to this very podcast? How many of you are going, I'm not robotic, what are you talking about? Nope, I'm not mechanical. You can't tell me that, you don't know me.
This
Here's the
process will,
teenager parallel.
yes, and this process, the process of this work will prove you wrong. I don't use that word a lot, but you will see that those beliefs are not real.
But only when you're willing to actually
Mhm.
allow that possibility. So we're talking about human evolution, and we know it as evolution from baby to toddler to teenager to adolescent, whatever, into adulthood. We know that progression. And then we think that that's it. We like, I'm an adult. I'm
Mhm.
fully evolved. What this is saying, what we're saying, what these what these esoteric scientific truths tell us and prove is that there is an entire evolution that's awaiting us beyond where we've gotten as humans are now. We are still at a toddler stage, maybe teenager at best.
The best.
At best. There's
I
a
think
whole
that's a
world
stretch.
beyond this.
That's a
That is
stretch. Yeah, a little bit of a stretch.
a little bit of a stretch. So there essentially the starting point of evolving beyond that is to learn about and recognize what this human machine is, what it is to be human, and start working psychologically at seeing things from a point of objectivity, from a point of observation, from a point of just wanting to see what is going on. And this is where those exercises of how much lying am I doing? How many ways do I show up in life? How many different aspects of me tend to come through? And I just think that there are different personality traits, there are different,
Mhm.
parts of me that make me me, but like how about we pull away from that and look at ourselves as though we observe a toddler or anything in life. Um it starts to pull back the curtain from this. You were using crust,
Mhm.
this crust of what we see, what's evident right in front of us, and very very limited, excuse me, very limited in perception, like how a toddler navigates life.
Yeah.
And it starts pulling us a little bit further beyond that. It starts bringing a little bit more of a different perspective and starts chopping away at that crust. It starts showing you that there is something beyond what we know as humans and what we think is the highest achievable thing as a human.
A great deal more, I dare say.
Well, I mean, if we're starting as toddlers, come on.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It's so funny just to look back in hindsight, having this conversation now versus had someone asked me, oh, let's go 3 years back. Let's go 3 years into my past versions, plural, yes. Uh, to say, Stephanie, who are you and how in charge of your life are you? I used to go by Stephanie. So
I thought that was appropriate because you're
it
asking past
was, it
you.
was, it was. Just so everyone who's listening knows. But yes, I would have given quite a different answer. I would have been very sure of myself and the way I had brought my gifts online at that point in my life, the advanced teachings that I was teaching, even at that time, advanced in the exoteric. So, quite a different presentation, quite a different arena than where I'm working now. But the answer would have been very sure, very certain of myself. It's really quite interesting the way perspective changes through this work and self-observation being the pillar on which it all stands. What a freaking gift this experience is. What a gift to be able to do this work, and it's like a vast sea of possibility opens up when you do realize how mechanical you were. And I have that recollection, I have that awareness in myself of just how certain I would have been, how certain I was of who I was at that time, when who I thought I knew myself as truly was a version of me that was just absolutely dripping with personality, false personality. Just fully saturated. We all are, and it's one of the ways that we know the work is possible for someone, when that thick personality person comes waltzing by, who is so sure, who thinks they know themselves, and thinks that they've done the inner work, and have been through the throes of self-observation. This was you, Jen.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, you had done so much work. We all have. When we reach this point, when we reach the mesoteric, it's not because we're still searching and looking for modalities to learn, and are enthralled with the world of, it could be anything. It could be energy work, it could be spirituality in and of itself and what our previous understanding of it was. It could be so many different things, but that's not when the mesoteric is poised to greet you.
No, you're still so unsure of yourself at that point. You're searching for yourself
Yeah.
through whatever modality. You're right. Every single
Yeah.
one, you're searching for yourself. So of course there's going to be a point of feeling so self-sure that only then the door to the mesoteric opens and makes you just go, oh, realize just how much of a facade that is, how much of a, house built on sand
Yeah.
that really is.
You've truly got to be ready to surrender to something more than all that you had been searching for so long, all that you were so sure of for so long. You've got to reach that point of your way. Your way now. This what I'm doing isn't working. I thought I knew exactly who I was, and here I am, and I still don't know. I thought I could affect the change necessary for my life, and I've tried everything, and here I still can't do it. I've been manifesting for years, and lots of what I've manifested didn't turn out to be as great as what I thought it would be, right? So few people are ready to really admit that, and there will be some. There really will be. There is that gradation within the exoteric, that there will be people who, there certainly are and always have been and always will be, people who will never leave, will be greatly successful in the exoteric, will find their quote unquote call in the exoteric. That could be a whole different conversation, that idea of having a call, but yeah.
Yeah, please don't expect that anyone or everyone you show this to, share the podcast with, introduce any of these ideas to, are going to be like, no way, that's amazing.
Yeah, no.
Just the sheer fact that you're here in this room, willing to even take in information, um, it speaks a lot to where you've been and what you've gone through, and where you're at. being introduced to these ideas, to this insanely backwards, upside down, hard to swallow kind of information. But it just speaks to exactly what you were talking about, S, of like a lot of people are very successful being mechanical human, experiencing life as that level of conscious human,
Mhm.
or rather not conscious human. But that is how it is meant to be. There is no aspect of this that is meant to reach everyone, to let everyone know that we're really mechanical and that there's so much more evolution beyond where we're at, and look, there's so much more.
Yeah, no.
It's for the few. It's for the few. These are extremely difficult concepts, and it takes some contemplation. And in fact, as we've been talking too, I'm even going back to like first episode, fourth episode, these even just the ideas of different exoteric, mesoteric, esoteric, and these misinterpretations or misunderstandings of ancient wisdoms. It takes quite a bit to contemplate and just sit with. And this episode in particular, because it does draw, it kind of draws us right back here and makes us question our very existence, what we are, how things that are done, how we do whatever it is that we do. It's a particularly um hefty perspective shift. It's a
Mhm.
particularly intense psychological shift. But if you sit with it long enough, it will show you. Without fail, it will show you every single time, time and time again, over and over, and it just gets deeper.
Mhm.
So if you've got
It's
any
funny.
questions buzzing right now, pop
Yeah.
them in, let us know.
It's funny that idea of watching people come into this work and everyone without a doubt, those of us who are building the school included, right, came into this work intrigued. Hmm? Tell me more, right? And then you come to the point of really truly seeing yourself and it kind of hits you just how culpable you are for your own self evolution and how, man, so many words are coming to the forefront right now, but magical is one of them, magnificent, intricate, uh, the design of this world and this experiences. And we've talked a little bit in this episode. I think we've talked in previous episodes about the idea of duality and releasing that attachment to labeling good versus bad and all of that. And if there's one thing that you take away from this particular episode, let it be that, because like Jen said, there are not many, you're not going to find a mass of people like rushing to hit play and we finally found the answer, right? Like that's not how that works by law. Literally by law, there are few who will truly receive the transmission in a way that hits you in your magnetic center and says, gimme, 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 right? Um, but I hope that you take away that there is nothing wrong with you if you at a minimum have come to the awareness that some of the things we've talked about you do. Oh, I do let things that happen to me upset me. Oh, I do, you know, feel pushed around by my external circumstances, and also I don't think I can do anything about it, and I'm not even the slightest bit interested in anything they're talking about. That's okay. Totally okay.
Oh yeah. This has got to sing to you. Otherwise,
Mhm. Mhm.
it
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my
You're
gosh,
not
it's
bad, you're not
ingenious.
wrong, you're
Uh-uh.
not any of it.
No, but we are definitely here for those of you who are feeling a chord striked from deep within and it's making you pivot a bit. We see you. We're here for you. This is the most exciting thing that has ever happened to me. Like I can't. Like everything that has come from the introduction of this kind of work has you're right, magnificent is really just I totally resonate with those words. Like if you're a seeker when you have started hitting on something that
Mhm.
in the least like in the place you least expect it. You know when you start uncovering some serious I mean, I don't know, gold. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know what else to call it. But that's not that still speaks to like the attaining of something when it's just been a big paradox of letting go. Not letting go, but like in the attainment of something, it is a release of what was separated. So it's like you receive more through less. I'm just gonna pause on that one. There's something else deeper with that, but maybe we'll save that for another episode.
I liked it. I like that. I saw somebody in, did I see that message pop up that said it was in all caps. Great episode. I love that. So let's leave it here. This feels really complete to me. I don't know if you have anything else you want to share, but if you do, take it away.
No, I just I've got a good inkling that there's an open-ended question about this mechanicalness and the nature of a human. And I think this is a great time for you to share exactly where someone could go to learn more about
Yeah,
just the structure of the human body,
absolutely.
human machine, human mechanics.
Absolutely. Yeah. If this has been pulling at you, as Jen put it, I think that's how you put it, pulling
That
at
is
you. If you felt called, felt pulled, felt magnetized to it, it is that magnetic center getting to you, pulling you in. So let it pull you all the way to the Akashic Kitchen. This is where you can find more about these teachings as well as the akashickitchen.com, where you will find master classes, programs, events, all focused on second level teachings, bridging that gap between the exoteric and the esoteric, really bringing you through that deep inner work that we're talking about in the objective process of walking the path to objective consciousness itself, seeing the world as it is, because you see yourself as you are. You know what's true in you and what's false. You have connected to your essence and seen your false personality and begun that process of truly dismantling it so that your outside world and your inside world are aligned. This is the definition of authenticity. So when you come into these objective teachings, you learn first and foremost where you are in creation. Is a beautiful aspect of this work, the esoteric model and the esoteric cosmology that work in tandem with the esoteric psychology, the inner work, right? To really bring congruence to your full perspective and experience, to bring understanding through knowledge and being.
I look forward to seeing you guys there. 'Cause
Yes.
I just
Yeah,
feel burning questions. That's
I
what I'm
know.
feeling. I just
I know. I know. Drop us your questions.
join us next
Drop us a
week.
line. Yeah, come and join us next week. If you're not part of the Synapse community, you will find that on the website as well. You can come into Synapse and have access not only to these podcast tapings where you can be live with us in the chat, but also have access to an exclusive monthly workshops you will not find anywhere else, as well as exclusive weekly wisdoms, mini wisdom teachings that you also will not find anywhere else. So we look forward to greeting you inside the Synapse community. It's a beautiful place to start. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Jen, for being here. Thank you, beautiful chat goers, for all of your comments and reflections. Greatly appreciated.
We'll see you next week.
See you then.